haven't heard any real reason that these people have for it, other than the fact that they just don't want it there.
However, you talk to any one of the principals and they'll tell you the numbers are skewed. My son is attending First Coast High School in this area. He didn't have a set schedule for 4 weeks of the school year because of overcrowding, which contradicts the numbers we've seen. They might be right for what they believe is the acceptable capacity, but when my son and the rest of the community's children are forfeited 4 weeks of education that we pay for, it needs to be reviewed, and we do not need to make the matter worse.
I can't see any real reason to defer this.
Coastal management element, policy 3.3.3, the city shall encourage the protection and preservation of environmentally sensitive lands. Now, preserving the 173 acres of wetlands does not comport with that policy because those wetlands can't be developed without an Army Corps of Engineers.
Florida Wildlife Federation opposed. Riverkeeper opposed. Audubon opposed. Thousand Friends of Florida opposed.
Has anybody looked at Boney and Sterrett? The road comes in there at a 45-degree angle. About half the people run the light, or the stop sign as it is now. What's going to happen when you put another 800 people down there? I mean, I've almost been killed. God, I can't even count the times.
The build-out is going to take 8 to 12 years. What are the roads going to look like after the big trucks come in?
An additional 7,000 plus trips per day along Boney and collector roads. Previous developments have contributed to the problem, and their concurrency fees are not enough to meet the growth they support.
The city is struggling with roads even now. The developer's $2 million contribution will not touch the actual need, and we have only $75,000 in our mobility fund for our area.
According to the staff report, page 7, item number 6, the claim is Boney Road is a lightly traveled local road that is currently being considered for a reclassification to a collector roadway. That statement in and of itself is contradictory. It's lightly traveled, but the traffic count is enough to turn it into a connector road.
You seem to be a little critical of the capacity that have been produced for the roads. Have you done a study, or have you done your own traffic study?
The city traffic engineer stated on the record at the Planning Commission meeting that the road could not handle the volume.
Okay, but you have not done a traffic study. The issues that they brought up, I don't see any of that that they could ask the developer to cure. Not going to cure a traffic problem. I mean, they could ask them not to put as many homes on there, but you know, we have developments like that all over the city.
New Berlin Elementary cannot be used as an emergency shelter. First Coast High School can only be used at 50% capacity.
Evacuation routes for Black Hammock Island. The roads out there are deplorable.
We have a neighbor that his front tire went off the road. He overcorrected because there was a drop of about this far. He overcorrected, the truck flipped, crashed into a tree, and he burned.
But you know, Jacksonville is a growing city. North Side is the growing area now.
On agricultural and environmental usage, the HOA for this planned unit development will force strict standards on the maintenance of their yards and parcels. That will include sprayed herbicides and pesticides. University of Florida, in conjunction with a number of others, have shown 98% of pesticides, 95% of herbicides reach untargeted species up to a mile away.
The wetlands on this site have extremely high functional value due to their water filtration capabilities, and I mention that only because this is directly adjacent to a Florida designated aquatic preserve, which in that designation entitles it to special water quality protection. The Board of Trustees for the Internal Improvement Fund is tasked with managing aquatic preserves. From what I can see, there has been no intergovernmental coordination with
draining fertilized water into a pond and letting it sit for a day or two until it rains and then running into the river is not treated water. That's the reason we have algae bloom in the St. Johns River.
And I just haven't seen any real reason. I mean, traffic could be a problem, yes.
So first, from a land use perspective, the density of this proposed development is wholly incompatible with the surrounding land uses. And your comp plan, as you know, requires compatible land uses, which is not to say that it has to be exactly the same as the surrounding land uses, but they can't negatively impose or impact the adjacent land use.
We have to sell an acre of land. It has to be 100 foot wide. And where the house is built has to be 100 foot wide. And that's what we're required in residential rule. And this issue of putting and putting these lot sizes that far out is just inappropriate. It's just bad planning.
Travel on those roads. Visit those schools that have expanded and have trailers on them. We are not ready, nor have we done any due diligence to be prepared for this size development that Steve Leggett said without any hesitation is the largest development in our area.
Haven't heard any real reason that these people have for it, other than the fact that they just don't want it. Jacksonville is growing. We keep bringing people to Jacksonville. That's Jacksonville. I don't see a real reason to defer.
All of you are elected to carry out the constituents' wants and needs and for a betterment of Jacksonville as a whole.
There's no one in support here tonight except for the developers.